for us to think about U.S. foreign policy. Now, I could scrap what I'm going to say for the next 5 minutes, which assumes that the GWAT is the proper framework, and say that, you know, let's assume that the GWAT is not the right framework, and I could provide you with a set of alternative principles or ideas to define strategy. And to tell you the truth, I actually think that's the path we should go down. That we should recognize that the global war on terror has been a fool's errand from the outset. But nonetheless, given that about 98% of our fellow citizens believe that the GWAT ought to inform our thinking, let me give you 5 principles, 3 general and 2 specific, to describe what a new strategy might look like. General principle number 1, rather than squandering American power, husband it. As Iraq has shown beyond dispute, U.S. military strength is finite. All the chest-thumping talk from the 90s about a world's only superpower and the indispensable nation, and it wasn't just neoconservatives who were peddling those lines. All that has turned out to be mistaken. Further, we have found that our nation's economic reserves and our diplomatic clout are also limited. And all of these things badly need replenishment. Key here is rethinking the use of force. I believe that it is essential for the next president to abrogate the Bush doctrine of preventive war, and that the United States should revert to policies more in line with the just war tradition, which sees war as a last resort, justified only for defensive purposes. General principle number 2, we need to align ends with means. Although Bush's penchant for Wilsonian rhetoric certainly warms the cockles of neoconservative hearts, it raises expectations that we cannot meet. Therefore, the next president should promise only that which is achievable. General principle number 3, and here I'm piling on Stephen Kinzer's, one of his concluding remarks. We need to exemplify the ideals we profess. Rather than telling others how to live, Americans should devote themselves to repairing their own institutions, and our enfeebled democracy just might offer the place to start. Specific principle number 1 of 2. This is the one I can never explain in ways that people, it's my failure to explain, not your failure to understand. This is the principle that says, let Islam be Islam. The United States possesses neither the capacity nor the wisdom required to liberate the world's 1.4 billion Muslims, who just might entertain their own ideas about what genuine freedom entails. I believe that Islam, much as was the case with Christianity, I believe that Islam will eventually accommodate itself to the modern world. But Muslims are going to have to work out for themselves the terms of that accommodation. Now, when I say Islamic world, I'm not implying that this is one solid, uniform, undifferentiated entity. At least in a general way, I appreciate the fact that there is substantial diversity in that world. Turkey is not Saudi Arabia. Iran differs from Pakistan. But I am implying that it lies beyond the ability of any American statesman to bend that world to our will, as the Bush administration has attempted to do. We will bankrupt ourselves in the effort. Specific principle number 2, and this really gets to sort of the operational aspect of strategy. We need to reinvent containment. The process of negotiating that accommodation with modernity, which Muslims are going to have to undertake on their own, is going to produce, has already produced, unwelcome fallout in the form of alienation, scapegoating, and violence. And in collaboration with its allies, the United States must insulate itself against the threat posed by Islamic radicalism. It's a real threat. It's not an existential threat. It's one we need to take seriously. The imperative toward that end is not to wage global war, whether real or metaphorical, but to erect effective defenses as the West did during the Cold War. And I would emphasize, containment does not preclude selective engagement, although it is based on the premise that the people in the Islamic world, for the most part, are going to have to work out their own destinies. Well, I've already had to sign, there's people flashing signs at me that I know tell me that I'm supposed to wrap things up. So let me end there. Thank you very much for your attention. And call on Stephen Kinzer.